the invisible engine behind every boom. Every boom feels sudden when it arrives. Growth accelerates, confidence spreads, opportunities multiply. It looks like momentum appeared out of nowhere, but beneath every boom is an engine that started turning long before anyone noticed. This matters today because booms are rarely accidents. They are built quietly through mechanisms most people never see. By the time success becomes visible, the forces driving it have already been in motion for years, shaping outcomes before headlines ever appear. To understand this engine, we have to look past prices and focus on conditions. Booms do not begin with excitement. They begin with permission. Permission to lend, to invest, to expand balance sheets, to assume tomorrow will be larger than today. At first, the engine runs slowly. Credit loosens slightly. Risk feels manageable. Small increases in funding unlock new projects. Growth looks organic, even cautious. Nothing feels excessive because nothing looks excessive yet. Confidence builds incrementally. Early gains reinforce belief. Successful investments justify larger ones. The system begins rewarding expansion. Capital flows toward momentum. The engine accelerates, fueled by validation rather than restraint. This is a reveal beginning to surface. Booms are not driven by demand alone. They are driven by capacity, by how much the system allows itself to grow before questioning whether it should. The invisible engine is not enthusiasm. It is authorization. Institutions play a central role here. Lending standards soften. Risk models adjust. What once required justification becomes routine. Money flows more freely, not because danger disappeared, but because familiarity replaced caution. As the engine speeds up, visibility drops. Success masks fragility. Rising prices validate decisions. Losses look temporary. Warnings feel unnecessary. The system begins mistaking momentum for stability. The early tension forms quietly. The engine that powers growth also amplifies imbalance. The faster it turns, the harder it becomes to slow. And because it operates beneath the surface, few realize how dependent the boom has become on its continued motion. By the time the engine is obvious, the boom is already underway. And shutting it down is far harder than starting it. Because invisible engines do not come with brakes. They come with belief. As the engine gained speed, behavior across the system shifted to match it. Risk felt smaller because rewards arrived faster. Time horizons shortened. Decisions that once demanded scrutiny now felt validated by momentum alone. Institutions adjusted their models accordingly. Rising prices reduced measured risk. Defaults declined. Balance sheets strengthened on paper. The engine fed itself. Success produced data that justified further expansion. Caution looked outdated in a world where outcomes kept improving. Markets absorbed this logic quickly. Capital chased return rather than durability. Funding flowed towards sectors already rising. Growth clustered where confidence was strongest. The engine concentrated power by rewarding participation in the boom. This is where the reveal deepened. The invisible engine did not just fuel growth. It reshaped perception. Risk was not disappearing. It was being masked by favorable conditions. When everything moves in the same direction, danger becomes harder to see. Early warning signs existed, but they felt abstract. Leverage increased quietly. Dependencies formed between institutions, sectors, and expectations. The system grew interconnected in ways that worked beautifully under expansion and dangerously under reversal. The early conflict sharpened as flexibility declined. Exiting positions became harder as participation increased. Liquidity depended on continued confidence. The engine required uninterrupted belief to keep turning. Participants sensed attention but struggled to act. Stepping aside meant missing opportunity. Questioning momentum meant challenging visible success. The engine rewarded agreement and penalized doubt. The system was no longer just growing. It was committing future stability to present acceleration. The invisible engine behind every boom does not announce itself when it starts. It announces itself when stopping becomes painful. And by then, momentum has already shaped the terrain. The question was no longer whether the boom was real. It was how dependent it had become on the engine continuing to run. The conflict reached its emotional peak when the engine began to strain under its own success. Not collapse, not panic, but resistance. Small disruptions slowed acceleration. Signals stopped aligning perfectly. The system felt pressure, yet momentum kept pushing forward. Participants faced a dilemma: slow down and risk triggering doubt, or continue accelerating and trust the engine to absorb stress. In a system built on belief, hesitation itself became a threat. Momentum was no longer just growth, it was protection. Institutions reacted instinctively. Standards softened further. Support extended longer. Interventions arrived earlier. The goal was not excess, but continuity. Keeping the engine running felt safer than testing whether it could stop smoothly. Markets reflected this tension sharply. Prices detached from fundamentals and reattached to expectation. Valuations depended less on cash flow and more on confidence that growth would persist. The engine was now powering perception as much as reality. This was the heart of the conflict. The invisible engine had grown too important question. Its movement validated decisions, justified risk, and anchored belief. Slowing it down felt dangerous, even if acceleration was creating imbalance. The emotional weight of this moment came from recognition. The system was no longer choosing growth. It was maintaining it. The difference is subtle, but critical. Growth chosen can stop. Growth maintained resists stopping. Dependencies tightened. Liquidity relied on optimism. Leverage leaned on continuation. The system had become efficient at expansion, but fragile to interruption. The buildup was complete. The engine behind the boom had reached a point where control was no longer about steering. It was about preventing deceleration. And systems that fear slowing down rarely notice when they're approaching limits. They only notice when motion becomes impossible to sustain. The resolution did not arrive with a dramatic shutdown. It came with recalibration. The system did not abandon the engine. It learned how dangerous it was to let it run without restraint. The climax emerged when momentum finally gave way to signal. Prices stopped validating assumption. Liquidity hesitated. Growth slowed just enough to force reflection. The engine had not failed, but it had revealed its limits. In response, behavior shifted. Expansion became selective. Risk was reassessed rather than assumed. Institutions began focusing less on how fast they could grow and more on how well they could absorb slowdown. The system learned that durability mattered as much as acceleration. The resolution reshaped how booms were understood. Growth driven by authorization. And belief can move quickly, but it must be paired with capacity to pause. Without brakes, even the strongest engine becomes dangerous. Stability does not require stopping momentum entirely. It requires knowing when to ease off. What endured was a defining lesson. Every boom is powered by something invisible long before it becomes visible. And that engine, if left unquestioned, will always push until resistance appears. The invisible engine behind every boom is not greed or ignorance. It is confidence allowed to compound unchecked. And when confidence is balanced with restraint, growth becomes sustainable instead of fragile. Because the most resilient systems are not the ones that never slow down. They are the ones that know when to. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The resolution did not arrive with a dramatic shutdown. It came with recalibration. The system did not abandon the engine. It learned how dangerous it was to let it run without restraint. The climax emerged when momentum finally gave way to signal. Prices stopped validating assumption. Liquidity hesitated. Growth slowed just enough to force reflection. The engine had not failed, but it had revealed its limits. In response, behavior shifted. Expansion became selective. Risk was reassessed rather than assumed. Institutions began focusing less on how fast they could grow and more on how well they could absorb slowdown. The system learned that durability mattered as much as acceleration. The resolution reshaped how booms were understood. Growth driven by authorization. And belief can move quickly, but it must be paired with capacity to pause. Without brakes, even the strongest engine becomes dangerous. Stability does not require stopping momentum entirely. It requires knowing when to ease off. What endured was a defining lesson. Every boom is powered by something invisible long before it becomes visible. And that engine, if left unquestioned, will always push until resistance appears. The invisible engine behind every boom is not greed or ignorance. It is confidence allowed to compound unchecked. And when confidence is balanced with restraint, growth becomes sustainable instead of fragile. Because the most resilient systems are not the ones that never slow down. They're the ones that know when to. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The